Welcome to the Roland 303 Caustic Bassline. Today I'm going to be doing a complete deep dive on the bassline. I'm going to be explaining every single parameter in great detail. So with that, let's just get started. Don't need to waste time. So right here on the top left, you can choose the waveform. You can see that there actually is only two waveforms, but that's actually not really true. I'm going to show you why. So the first thing that you need to understand is just by clicking on this, you can change to three different things. So here's the square wave, and there's a little pencil line, which will take you to the waveform editor, which we'll get to here in a second. And the third one is just a sawtooth. But if you notice right here that there's a small little triangle right here, if you go down and you look at the metronome, there's a small triangle here. So whenever you see that, actually here, there's another small triangle right up here. Every time you see that, that means that you can long press it and it's going to take you into a sub menu. So for example, if we long press the metronome, it'll take us to this little sub menu here. So same thing with here. If we long press it, it's going to take us to the waveform editor. Within the waveform editor, you can draw in whatever waveform that you want. Now, when it's just straight like this, you're not going to get any sound. So here's where I was saying where there's actually more waveforms. So if you just want a straight up sine wave, all you have to do is just click on this and then out. Now this is actually a sine wave. Let's actually take everything back to stock values on here. Let's turn this off. Why does that sound? Oh, the resonance. Okay, here. See, you're getting just a straight up sine wave. And then also, if you long press it, you could do this with a triangle if you want. And then you could do your sawtooth or your square. So to be able to manipulate this, it's usually best if you start out with something that you're trying to achieve. Like if you want a pure sine wave, but if you want to add just a little bit of buzz. So right here, that we just a sine wave, but if you just slightly distort it, now watch. See how it changes it? You can drastically change the sound by a lot or a little, depending on little nicks and different shapes that you put in it. So if you ever want to reset it, just click back up here again. So there's a little piece of paper up here. If you push this, it'll take you to your editor, or you can actually go to wherever you have any wave files stored. So in this case, I'm going to go to my editor, and I'm going to go down to where I have a thing called Wave 2. So if we go in here, you can load this, and this is actually a small little snippet from a snare drum. And you can have a length of, I suggest using something that's really no longer than 25 milliseconds or 50 milliseconds. There's a limit. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's somewhere around there. I think this is 25 milliseconds. And it has to be in a wave file, dot wave or WAV, whatever you want to pronounce it. So that's how you can load up your own custom waveforms. So let's just go here, and then I'm going to show you about the noise right here. Now the density is going to be how much noise is going to be filling up from left to right. Okay, so density is left to right, amount is up and down. So watch this. There's not going to be, if I put the density very small and the amount high, the waveforms going up and down are going to be big, but they're going to be spaced out quite a bit from left to right. Now watch. See how they're spaced out right here? If we go back to here, now watch what happens when I bring the density up. See how many more little squiggly lines are in between? Let's bring the amount down. So up and down, it's going to be short, but there's going to be quite a bit filled in because of the density. So just think of density, how many lines are going to fill in this waveform, and the amount is going to be how high the squigglies are. And if you ever just want to just reset or whatever, just click right back up here. Now the smoothing, here, let's go for something intense. Smoothing is going to be the amount of how smooth it is. So if you put it down to right here, it's going to still be pretty wobbly, but it cleans it up quite a bit compared to what it was. So let's go back to this. Now let's turn the amount high. Watch how much smoother it gets. And let's just maximize it. Like there. It just kind of smooths it out, takes the noise out. But it's good to do this because if you want those added harmonics to it, but you don't want that kind of hissy noise, this is good. See, that's almost like a kind of a guitar pluck, but compared to regular sine wave. See how pure and warm this is? This gives it that little bit of, almost a little bit of FMing almost, it sounds like. Just slight. So anyways, this is the waveform editor. Right here we have pulse width. So to explain the pulse width, I am going to go to the modular. Here I have loaded up a pulse generator. So you'll notice that it says P width here too. So the pulse width controls the duty cycle. So if you see right here, this little dip in there, the amount from where it starts to where it ends is called the duty cycle. If I bring this up, it's going to get bigger. If I bring it down, it's going to get smaller. See how big it is? Now this is going to be a straight up square wave. Hear that hollow, warm sound? That is just straight up square wave. Now if we take this to right here, notice how it starts getting a little bit more buzzy. It's starting to sound more like a sawtooth. But it still has the characteristics of a square wave. So this is a great way to dial in your sound. When you're doing sound design, it's really important to hear certain characteristics of wave files or of waveforms to be able to try to, if you're trying to recreate something with this. So if you don't think something's quite sawtooth, there's a chance it's probably a pulse width that has a small duty cycle. Hear the difference? All right, now let's go back to the baseline. Okay, so the pulse width is not going to work unless you have the square wave set. Here we go. Here we're getting that here. Let's actually. It's getting that kind of buzzy sound, but still hollow. Until it's just a square wave. So if you just want square wave, make sure the pulse width's up. But if you want some of those kind of more buzzy harmonics, bring it down. And we're also going to be revisiting this pulse width when we get back down to the LFOs. But for right now, let's just do everything with a sawtooth. So the tune is very simple. These are measured in steps. Now a step could be from like C to C sharp, C sharp to D. It's just one step. There's 12 steps in an octave, and you can see that there are 12 of these going down and 12 going up. So if I hit a C4 and I drop this all the way down, this is now turned into a C3. See, same thing. So if you want to tune it a little bit, mess with this. So the cutoff is going to be, this is a low pass filter. So if we have it all the way to the right, it's going to let in all the frequencies at a determined amount of wherever the filter is. Let's actually go down a little bit. makes it much more dark. I would say the sound is round. This is much more brighter when you turn it up. Now the resonance, if you turn this up, you almost get that kind of lasery sound. To fully understand what's going on here, I'm actually going to load up Serum and show you the filter in there because it's much more visual. All right, so here's the filter right here. This is a 12 decibel slope cutoff. The slope means how the 12 means 12 decibel, and that's the angle at which this is going to be cutting the sound off. If we do something higher, this is 24. See how much more up and down it is compared to the 12? This is kind of a more tame cutoff slope. Now, right where it goes from flat and then it starts going downhill, this is the cutoff. This is actually the where the cutoff slope is. Now, watch where the resonance happens. You see that? See how it goes up the more resonance I turn up? This means that the small little band of frequencies right where the cutoff slope is starts to be exaggerated. It gets brought up. So that's what gives it that kind of high pitch, kind of gurgly sound that you're hearing, that laser sound. It's the resonance, and it's a small band of frequencies right by the cutoff. So a lot of it, so the cutoff and the resonance goes hand in hand because this controls which frequencies are being boosted, and this just boosts the frequencies wherever it's at. So if you go over here, it's going to be a lot different sound than over here. So once again, let's go to this cutoff right here and then the res. See, you get in a different sound. These two go hand in hand. Now, the envelope modulation can be a little bit tricky to understand at first. So envelope modulation modulation means change. It's the envelope modulation determines how much modulation is actually happening, because this in itself isn't an amplitude envelope. This is strictly filter envelope. There's the decay and the envelope mod, and these go hand in hand as well. So let's do something like this. We're going to put the cutoff to about right here. How about the res a little bit up? And I'm going to turn this modulation thing down a bit and then bring up the decay. This decay is time. It's determining how much time that it takes to decay to a certain point of the frequency cutoff down to wherever you set the cutoff. Now, the envelope modulation determines how much of this is going to, the time doesn't change. What changes is the frequency amount. So a good rule of thumb is the higher the envelope modulation, the brighter the sound is going to be. So watch this. Not very bright. You're getting more of a round, darker sound. But if I bring this up, much more brighter. If I take the decay up, it's only going to change time. Let's bring the cutoff, make it more exaggerated. I purposely left the key pressed in to emphasize the fact that the amp envelope, whatever's going on behind the scenes, doesn't have a low sustain. It is, well, there's still sustain. It doesn't go down to zero. So you can hold the notes down all day long and you will still hear a sound. So that is definitely noteworthy to do this. So let's take the envelope modulation down and watch how it changes this. Sound isn't as bright. Bring it up, brighter. Down. So if this is right here, let's just say, this is where we want it, the envelope modulation, why does it start at such a dark sound? This is because it's decaying from as if it was right here. I'm not for sure exactly if it is from there, but it's pretty darn close. And it's only moving from here down to here in this circumstance. If I leave it here, what's really happening is it's only going from about here down, because this is how much we set. Once I bring this up, it's as if this is going up, but it's still remembering where the cutoff part is. So it's going to be going. We could do a small decay and it'll be very fast. Okay, so I think we've gone over enough with this, but and it can take a little bit to get used to. But remember, if something's not quite as bright, try turning this up. Okay, let's move the accent. The accent is really easy to understand. All it is it makes a note louder. Watch. I'm going to make 2 notes here. One on C3, one here. I'm going to accent this note. Okay? And then we're going to look at the volume and what's going on. I'm going to turn the volume all the way up for the accent. Now, let's listen. Whoops. See how much louder the accented note is? The first note is the unaccented. The second was the accented. Now, if I bring this all the way down, they're both going to be playing at the same volume. So if you want certain notes to play louder, then trigger the accent. To do that, all you have to do is just hit the button. You can turn it on and off. See? And an accented note will have a little notch going up and down. Volume is just the output volume. Remember, yellow isn't clipping. If you're getting to yellow, it isn't clipping. Once it hits red, that means that it's clipping. To select preset, these are where all your presets are stored, right here. And then you can also save your own presets by hitting this, save it, whatever you want, and then it'll be stored within your presets. And this folder is under, I think, Documents, Caustic, Documents, Presets, Bassline, and then you can find the folder with all these in here. Just in case if you download stuff off the internet and you need to place it in somewhere, that's where you locate it. You go to your Caustic folder, then you go to Documents, then you go to Presets, and then you go to Bassline, and that's where all these are stored. Let's move down to the LFO. LFO stands for Low Frequency Oscillator, and that means that it's using a waveform at a certain hertz, a certain frequency, and it uses that, because you can't hear it, you're using that to control a different parameter on this. So in this case, the target is going to be your destination of choice. So the easiest thing to do to understand is the VCA. We're going to go from right to left in this case. So this stands for voltage control voltage control amplifier. We're going to turn the rate. This determines the speed. This LFO is a sine wave, and the rate determines how fast this is going to go. So I'm going to turn the depth up all the way as well. So with this, it's synced in to whatever BPM your actual project is. So I'm going to hit a key and watch how it's going to modulate the volume. Remember, the rate controls the speed and the depth is how much. If you're confused about the depth, watch what happens when I bring it down. It's not going to go up and down so much. All the way until there's no modulation going. Remember, modulation is a change in sound over time, or you can just think of it as change. If the depth is at 0, there will be no change. So if something's too intense that you have targeted your LFO, bring the depth down and make it a little bit more subtle. Now the phase just selects which point the LFO starts. If it's at a sine wave, if it's all the way to the left, I believe it's going to start from the very beginning of that sine wave. So if we go to like the phase halfway up, I'm pretty sure this is how it's working. If we go into here and we do a little sine wave, it's probably starting right in the middle of that sine wave. So instead of going down, it'll be going up at first. Let's test this out. I wonder if I could test this out. I think if we start it to the left, it goes down first. And then if we bring it like this, or maybe all the way up. I don't know. I can't tell. Yeah, see? Check that out. If I bring it all the way right, watch what it does. And if we bring it all the way to the left, it goes down. Does it? Never mind. This doesn't look like it's re-triggering. Anyways, that's, I believe, what the phase is doing with this. My little demonstration wasn't too accurate. I apologize. Okay, so that's voltage control amplification. Voltage control filter. So this controls the amount of fluctuation between on the cutoff. So basically what this is doing is it's making this move back and forth here. So if we have the envelope modulation all the way down, this is going to be just going from here to here. It'll be actually pretty bright. Until there's no modulation going. If you have it all the way down, because it has nowhere to fluctuate up and down to. So as long as this is up, this is just going to be going like this. So if I have this off, it's doing the same thing. So let's bring this up here. And this will be the amount of modulation that it's doing. So if you bring it all the way up, it won't be as bright as what he was doing as before here. So it's kind of weird how this works. All the way up. So just kind of play around with it, get to know it a little bit if that's something that you want to do. Pulse width, modulation. So what I showed you before, it's changing the duty cycle in the shape of a sine wave. So it's just changing it. So if we go back to this is what it's doing. Turn this down. It's making the things go like this. That's all that's doing in the shape of a sine wave. Distortion. Now there's 4 different types of distortion. That's what they call program or the algorithm. The name's Al. Algorithm. DO stands for I think distortion overdrive. It's overdrive. But yeah, DO, distortion overdrive. This is a very aggressive, straight up like hard clipping type of distortion. So let's give it a healthy amount. Let's give it to this. Now the saturation is just a mild form of the overdrive. Not intense, but if you crank both of them, it's going to sound just the same. It's pretty weird how this thing works. You take it down a tiny bit. There's a huge difference between a barely right here and then all the way. It's a huge difference. So if you just want a little bit of saturation with it, or distortion, just put on saturation. If you want it to be pretty intense, go to overdrive. Fold back is just distortion that feeds back into itself. It gives it a kind of a buzzy sound. And this stands for fuzz. Yeah. So, and I forget exactly what fuzz does. I think I mentioned it in the I have a deep dive on distortion. It's been so long since I looked into it. I forget what fuzz does, but it almost sounds the same as saturation. A little bit different. So the pre is just the amount of volume, dry volume that goes in before the effect. And the post is just a volume. It's like a makeup gain. For this, all it is volume. M, mutes. S, solos. Legacy Glide is weird. I don't know exactly what this does. I actually looked in the manual and it says this is tailored specifically towards legacy songs, which I don't really quite understand. So I apologize for not knowing fully what this does. If you go up and down on this, this is just a preview of the keyboard. Goes all the way up to C8. So let's go down to here. Mode is if you have automation controls on there. To do automation, all you have to do is hit record if you want to be in pattern mode. This will only show pattern automations, not song automations. So make sure it's in pattern mode and you hit record to be able to automate whatever parameter you want on here. So A, B, C, D is the bank. So there's 16 times 4. So you can have quite a few different patterns. So a lot of people don't know if you remember there's a triangle. If you long press this, you can get into a thing where it says shuffle override. Now, if you go down to right in here, there's shuffle. This is a global shuffle. This will affect every single thing, every single pattern you have selected or you've made within Caustic. Now, if you want everything to be this amount of shuffle, but for some reason you want this to be different, you can hit shuffle override, and then you can individually change this. So now this will only be this amount of shuffle, while everything else will be this amount. Ah, you can't double click it, huh? Very interesting. I I just learned that. You can't double-click the amount and have it go back down to 0. Stupid. Stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. Okay, so that's the shuffle override. Shift, if you want. This is just a left and right transpose. Well, I guess, I don't know. Maybe transpose is up and down. Shift is left and right. But if I click it once, all the notes will go over one step. See? But they'll wrap around, too. So, yeah, if you want everything to shift at once, this is an easy way to do it. If you want to transpose something like an octave, just go up plus 12. And then you'll be up an octave. And you can hear what it sounds like up an octave. But with this, there's a special thing here, too, where if you have automation selected here, if there's some sort of automation, and you hit copy, and you load up another bassline, and you hit paste, not only will it paste the pattern that you selected, it'll also paste the automation. So that's a good way to copy automation, but it only works if you have the same machine. Because, like, say if you have pulse width on here, automation, and you load up a subsynth, there's not going to be a pulse width thing to be automated on it. So do you understand that? I think this is pretty much it, man. I guess I don't really have to go too much into all this stuff because it's this is just real basic stuff that goes along with just your pattern sequencers. The glide, I guess, is the other thing you can do. See how it notches to the right or to the left or whatever when the accent has the up and down on there. So that's pretty much it for the bassline. If you're confused on anything, maybe I didn't quite explain things to the best of my ability, just leave me a comment and I'll do my best to clarify stuff. But anyways, yeah, thanks for watching. Oh, forgot the note on and off. It's just lets you know that a note's being triggered. All right, cue the music.